Here in Connecticut, Republicans are pushing hard to try to capture the majority in the state Senate on November 8th.
Yeah, they need to hold the seats they have and pick up just 4 Senate seats to take control of that chamber of the legislature. Our chief political correspondent Mark Davis here live now as he continues his close-up look at some of those competitive races in the countdown to Election Day. Mark.
Hi, Darren and Ann. Good evening, everyone, from the Hartford newsroom. Some political watchers here in Connecticut are saying that the 17th State Senate district is one of the races to watch on election night here in Connecticut. It includes some of the suburbs just north of New Haven and part of Naugatuck and all of Beacon Falls, Bethany, and Ansonia. 82-year-old Democratic State Senator Joe Crisco campaigns door-to-door every day, just like he's done 12 times before in this district that includes Hamden and Woodbridge and several towns in the Naugatuck Valley. By virtue of his tenure and previous experience with the state's largest private employer, United Technologies, he is a major player in the Democratic State Senate leadership. He's being opposed this time by 47-year-old George Logan, who is an engineer with the Aquarian Water Company with deep community service roots in the area. He also has the distinction in Connecticut of being a rare African-American Republican. He says he's a centrist that leans right and says jobs and the economy are the main issues here, and that Governor Malloy's policies, aided by Crisco and the Democratic leadership, are the problem.
For the last several years, he's voted nearly 100% of the time directly in line with the majority party leadership and with Governor Malloy.
First of all, I have a proven record, and I have proven service. And when you speak of Governor Malloy, you have to take consideration the triple threat victory over the past few months.
By that, Crisco means the Malloy tax break deal that secured Pratt & Whitney, jobs at Electric Boat, and especially the tax break deal to save Sikorsky.
In my district, there are probably, about 10 major subcontractors for Sikorsky, and it helps a lot of families.
What I am unhappy about is the fact that we have to go through these types of extraordinary measures to keep a company like Sikorsky in the state.
Crisco notes that there were 75 similar deals made in other states and that keeping big business is very competitive. Logan also faults Crisco and Malloy on another issue.
2 of the highest tax increases in the history of the state of Connecticut. I think the current leadership and Senator Crisco, they're living in a different reality than the rest of us are.
There are times that you have to make some very tough decisions, and when that action was taken, it was necessary.
Donald Trump received record numbers of votes in the presidential primary in the Naugatuck Valley, and Republican leaders expect he'll do well on November 8th, and there could be a trickle-down effect on this race. But Logan has steered clear of endorsing Trump, saying that legislative races are more important to residents' lives, and that is his focus. Crisco also points to his work on the legislature's Insurance Committee as securing insurance coverage for breast cancer screenings as another reason to send him back to Hartford. Live from the Hartford newsroom, Mark Davis, News 8.